Episode 1. From Adam to the flood. And it came to pass that in the days of my long fasting, when sleep overtook me as a mantle of silence, the heavens were opened before my eyes. And I, Enoch, beheld the story of mankind written not on parchment but in light. A voice, neither thunder nor whisper, but the echo of eternity itself, said unto me, The history of the world shall be divided into 10 weeks. Each week shall be an age. Each age shall bear witness, and in its witness shall be its judgment. The first vision, week 1, the birth of man and the seed of sin in the dawn of my dream. I saw the earth before it was divided. There were no empires, no kings, no altars of stone, only a garden, vast and luminous, breathing with the breath of God. In its midst stood a white bull, pure and radiant, crowned not with gold but with innocence. And I knew the white bull was Adam, the firstborn of creation, whose name was carved by the hand of the Most High. All was harmony, and the beast walked without fear. But then I saw another figure, shadowed and restless, the whisperer, whose very presence bent light into doubt. He spoke, not with words, but with desire. And the woman, though clothed in glory, turned her ear toward the shadow. The moment she listened, a tremor passed through the foundations of the world, and I heard the first heartbeat of sin. The white bull fell, not slain, but transformed, his coat no longer pure, but stained with dust and sorrow. And the voice said, Thus ends the first week, the entrance of death. Yet even as Adam wept outside the gates of Eden, a flame appeared behind him, not to destroy, but to guard hope. For the prophecy of the 10 weeks begins not with despair, but with choice. Week 2, the rise of corruption and the coming of the watchers. The dream darkened. The sons of Adam multiplied, building cities of clay and iron. They tamed the earth, but not themselves. I beheld Cain, the black bull, his eyes burning with rage as he struck down his brother. And the very ground cried out in agony. From his line came giants of pride, hunters, kings, men who bent nations beneath their will. In the shadows of their thrones, altars rose, stained by the blood of innocents. Then suddenly the heavens trembled, and I saw stars descend. But these were not stars, nor were they angels of mercy. Their faces were beautiful, yet their eyes were kindled with forbidden longing. They came not to serve, but to possess. We shall take wives from among the daughters of men, they said, and beget for ourselves mighty offspring who shall rule the earth. And so they did. From the wombs of mortal women were born the Nephilim, giants with voices like storm wind, whose laughter shook mountains, whose hunger knew no bounds. They devoured beasts, then men, then even one another. And the earth, unable to bear them, cried aloud. I fell upon my face and cried, Lord of the ages, why do you permit such horror? And the voice answered, This is the 2nd week, when the sons of heaven defiled themselves, and the earth pleaded for judgment. Week 3, the blood of the righteous, and the first prophecy of purge. In the 3rd week, I beheld a single white sheep rise among wolves. This was Enoch, the first to call upon the name of the Lord. Round him gathered a remnant, not kings, nor warriors, but seekers of truth. Yet while they built altars of faith, the Nephilim built altars of flesh. Their abominations multiplied. They taught mankind the secrets of witchcraft, enchantments, and the forging of weapons to spill blood. Women painted their faces with the dust of fallen stars and sang the songs of spirits that crawled beneath the earth. And the watchers who had once walked in glory cried out from the shadows, begging that their offspring not be destroyed. But the heavens grew silent, as if even the stars refused to bear witness. Then I saw the first prophet, a man radiant in sorrow, Methuselah, son of Enoch. He lifted his voice against the giants and pronounced doom upon their kingdoms. The Nephilim laughed, but the mountains began to shake. Thus ends the 3rd week, said the voice. For judgment has been declared, though not yet delivered. Week 4, the great silence before the storm. In my vision, I saw the earth as a chalice overflowing not with water, but with violence. The very air groaned beneath the weight of sin. Yet man did not repent. Instead, he raised temples to the fallen angels, crowning them as gods. Cities glowed with unnatural fire. Rivers turned red. The laughter of the giants became the lament of nations. Women wept in secret as their children were taken for sacrifice. And still the heavens waited. Why did God delay? The answer came as a whisper of light, descending like dew. Mercy is the womb of judgment, and I saw him, Noah, the white bull with eyes of crystal. He stood alone amid a world of ruin, untouched by corruption. Round him, angels moved unseen, measuring the earth, marking the boundaries of destruction. For 120 years he built the ark, and the giants mocked him. But the hammer in his hand rang like the knell of an age. Weak for ends, the voice said, with the declaration of salvation for one, and destruction for all who mock the covenant. Week 5, the flood and the covenant of fire. Then the vision erupted into fury. I saw the windows of heaven break, and torrents like molten glass fell from the sky. The fountains of the deep burst upward like serpents of flame. The earth split, swallowing temples, thrones, and the bones of giants. The Nephilim roared as the waters rose to their necks. Some tried to climb mountains, others cried unto the watchers, their fathers, but the watchers were bound in chains beneath the earth. And in that moment I heard the cry of the whole world, the cry of justice fulfilled. Yet within the ark there was peace. The white bull Noah bowed his head, and the Spirit of God moved above the waters like a phoenix of light. 40 days passed. Then the dove flew. The rainbow appeared, not as a symbol of peace only, but as a warning. Never again shall war destroy all flesh. The next judgment shall be by fire. And the voice declared, thus ends the 5th week, the age of cleansing. The old world is no more, but the seed of corruption remains, hidden in the heart of man. And when the waters withdrew and the mountains stood bare like the bones of the world, I, Enoch, beheld the sky newly polished yet heavy with a promise that did not gleam, but glowed like a coal held in the hand of God. For the covenant was double-edged, mercy for the remnant, warning for the ages. The bow in the clouds was not a child's ribbon. It was an archer's sign, curved toward heaven, as if the Most High himself had strung judgment and then stayed his hand. In the hush that followed the flood, I saw the earth breathe again. Seeds awoke. Beasts stepped forth as from a second Eden. The white bull Noah poured out wine and remembered the dead. But above all this newness, I heard a sentence like a distant drum. Water shall not judge the world again. The next great reckoning shall be by fire, and not of the elements only, but of truth. And truth burns. The exegesis of 5 weeks, a vision interpreted in the night. The voice that instructed me did not depart, but drew near, as a teacher who has shown his pupil the answer and now asks for the working. The 10 weeks were not merely a calendar of disaster, they were a map of the heart, the rising and falling tide of human desire against the shore of the divine will. Week 1 was innocence tested and freedom awakened, the white bull Adam, the warm garden, the first tremor of a whispered lie, not tragedy, but choice for love that cannot choose, cannot love. Week 2 was height without holiness, the watchers descending in beauty, but refusing obedience, the Nephilim born in strength, but feasting on ruin. Knowledge unmoored from reverence will always make weapons before it makes wisdom. Week 3 was the cry of a witness among jackals, altars to the Most High lit beside furnaces of sorcery, a righteous voice denouncing giants while hammers forge new chains. Judgment spoken is mercy offered. If rejected, it hardens into doom. Week 4 was the quiet before the storm, the arithmetic of patience. The ark measured plank by plank while mockery multiplied. The years counted not by harvests, but by warnings. For the God who judges first builds a door. Week 5 was uncreation to remake creation. Windows of heaven shattered, fountains below vomiting the old sins back into the light. The ark rode not only the waters, but the word that said you may begin again. But the angel lamp beside me flickered, as if to caution my spirit against a false comfort. The flood was not a cure. It was a surgery that removed the gangrene and left the appetite. Flesh survived, so did freedom. And freedom is a key that opens heaven or hell, depending on the hand that holds it. The pivot beyond the waters, law, memory, towers. I beheld men stepping ashore, blinking like newborns. And the soil under their feet, though cleansed, remembered. Vines coiled toward the sun, so did pride. Family became clan, clan became city, and a city is a mirror multiplied. In the mirror, man loves himself more clearly. They learned to stack stones until the stones spoke. The tongue of mortar bragged in the wind, and a tower rose where the plain was thick with ambition. Its shadow grew long enough to swat at the sky. I could hear their chant, "Let us make a name." They confused obedience with imprisonment and thought unity the same as righteousness. The tower did not fall from weakness, but from misdirected strength, for when men are of one language, but many idols, they will raise a single idol big enough to hold them all. And the voice broke the spell with a word sharp as flint, "Scatter." So language turned into a fan of sparks, and the peoples flickered across the continents. Not punished, but protected lest their single fist become a hammer against heaven. The tower taught a lesson the waters could not. Multiplicity is mercy when unity is pride. Yet mercy is not amnesia. The Most High planted remembrance in the line of Shem, a thread of law spun out of silence. In my sight, a book glowed before any scribe could open it, and a mountain that had not yet been named trembled as if remembering a fire it had not yet seen. The law would come stone and breath, commandment and covenant, because war cleanses and fire refines, but law instructs. And a people instructed may yet choose life. The sorrow of angels, the weight of men, I asked, if water could not cure us, and law must come. What then of the watchers? What of their chained brightness, their ruinous sons, and the spirits that wander like drought? The answer was not a display, but a hush, the kind of hush that falls in a courtroom. Before the verdict, chains endure, said the voice, until time matures. What was bound for 70 generations remains bound, though men dig at the doors with iron. The sons of giants are flesh no more. Their breath clings like frost to windows, looking in. They hunger for bodies, but the door is narrow. Resist them, and they pass like smoke. Invite them, and smoke becomes a house. A shudder took me, for I knew the flood had buried the bones, but not the longing that made them stand. And longing, when ungoverned, breeds the ancient hunger anew. It was then I understood. The 5 weeks do not merely tell what was, they teach what is, always. Eden is morning in every heart, the tower rises in every city, the ark is a door in every storm. The white fire that waits, night folded back like a tent, in a horizon I did not know glow with a distant brightness snow sun. Yet daylight, no flame, yet warming. The angel at my right hand whispered a word I could not sound, and still I understood it. Preparation. Weeks turn like wheels, the axle is mercy. The destination is a house of white fire, where words are weighed and intentions do not hide behind their clothing. I saw a road cut between altars, one stained with blood freely given in gratitude, the other slick with blood taken for advantage. The road runs between them into the same clay. The difference is not the sacrifice, but the surrender. Men will always build altars. The question is to whom and for what. The scholars aside within the prophet's dream permit me, O listener of ages, a voice half learned. For the dream permits an interpreter. The 10 weeks, so the elders teach, are not simple decades of history, but epochs of instruction. How innocence breaks, how power corrupts, how patience saves, and how judgment reveals. The imagery of bulls and sheep, of beasts from the sea and shepherds numbered like stars, these are not decorations, but diagnostic instruments. The seer does not draw maps. He draws diseases that nations catch and cure or spread and die from. By this reading, Week 1 is anthropology baptized. Week 2, technology without theology. Week 3, conscience outrun by appetite. Week 4, the pedagogy of patience. Week 5, the reset that preserves freedom by limiting consequence and amputation that saves the body of history for the next surgery. The bow in the clouds is a truce, not with nature, but with the terms of the next trial. What comes after water must therefore teach what water could not. Not that sin kills, we saw that, but that truth heals if it is invited to dwell where we would rather be unexamined. The plant of righteousness and the whisper of a name in the dim between visions. I saw a shoot rise from ground too tired to grow. It was not broad as a cedar nor lovely as a palm. It was small, and because it was small, men did not fear it. They passed by, and its roots went down into remembrance. The angel said, "This is the plant of righteousness when storms return. Those who cling to it will not be uprooted. I knew not its name, only its fruit. It made the violent gentle, and the proud quiet. It taught law to love and love to obey. It said, come to the weary and go to the wolves. And though giants could not grow again in bone, I saw men become giants in mercy, towering above the old rage like cliffs above the sea. Not all would choose it. Enough would to keep the story from becoming only a tragedy. The fifth week's echo, a covenant that remembers us when Noah stood on new earth. He did not rest his faith on the beams of the ark, but on the voice that told him to build it. The covenant that followed was not signed with ink but with sky. And in that sky sign there is this quiet marvel. It bends toward the beholder. Wherever you stand, it aims at you. It is the geometry of attention God's glance made color. But a covenant is also a mirror. It asks the question that Eden asked gently and the flood asked in thunder. Will you walk with me? Not as a puppet, not as a prisoner, but as a partner who knows his dust and lifts his eyes anyway. The fifth week closes not with a slammed door, but a door left ajar. The waters withdraw, the invitation remains. The foreshadow of the sixth, a book, a mountain, a people finally, the dream thin, as silk held up to a lamp becomes a veil where a face begins to show. I saw what had not yet been, a book that burned without being consumed. Words cut in stone and breathed into the soul. I saw a mountain stitched with lightning and a people trembling at its base, asking that a man speak to them because the voice was too large to bear. I saw a tent that glowed in the night like a lantern in the desert, a throne with no idol sitting. And yet the throne was not empty. And I heard this, water prepared the ground, law will prepare the heart. Between them grows the plant of righteousness. But know this, son of Jared, law without love becomes another tower, and love without law becomes another flood. I pressed my face to the earth, for the wisdom was both sweet and severe. When I lifted my eyes, the horizon had changed again. There were empires walking like beasts on hind legs, each wearing a crown that did not fit. There were shepherds counting sheep that were not theirs, and wolves who learned to sing. And among them, not tall, not loud, a single white sheep whose silence made the beast rage. The angel did not name him. He did not need to. In the memory of my bones, I knew. The closing of the first episode. The candle and the sea the 10 weeks stood before me like steps cut into a cliff. I had climbed the first 5 by vision and was made small by what I saw. If the beginning could hold such weight, what would the middle bear? If water could scour a world and still leave pride gleaming like a pebble in the sun, what furnace must be lit to soften it? The voice, companion and judge, bent near enough to be breath on my ear. Write what you have seen. Enoch, not as a merchant catalogs goods, but as a bell remembers the hand that rang it. The weeks are not a schedule. They are a diagnosis and a promise. Tell them, innocence is not immunity. Power without worship becomes predation. Patience guards the door judgment will one day open. And mercy, even when it thunders, is always an invitation. The sea at my feet wore the sky like a borrowed robe. Somewhere behind me, a hammer I could not see began to strike wood again steady. Obedient, unafraid of laughter, I turned toward the sound and knew it for what it was, not Noah's, but every righteous builder as who hears a warning before the rain, and lays his plank across another man's fear. Then sleep loosed me, the tent of vision folded. The world returned with its familiar weight and unfamiliar light. I, Enoch, took up the reed and wrote until the oil burned low. When the flame at last bowed to the wick, the night did not feel empty, it felt expectant. For water had finished its song. Law was clearing its throat. And somewhere, already, the beasts of empire were pawing the dust, learning to roar. This is the end of the first 5 weeks, said the voice that had no edges. In the next you shall see shepherds rise and fall, a plant that cannot be uprooted, and a stone the builders will reject becoming the cornerstone of an age. I sealed the scroll and slept, and the dream waited like a candle cupped against the wind. The waters have fallen silent, but the storm of empires is about to rise. In the next vision, I will witness shepherds crowned with glory and corrupted by power, beasts that devour nations, and the birth of a light the darkness could not comprehend. If this was only the beginning, what secrets await in the next week of prophecy? Continue to episode 2, The Age of Shepherds and the Rise of the Messiah. Subscribe, stay awake, and prepare, for Enoch's next vision may already be unfolding in our time.